as an example, there is something called a birth chart. And inside this circular chart, which starts from the ascending sign on the left side of the circle, it circles around through the 4 types: air, water, fire, earth. The chart starts with the left side of the chart that shows our beginning, and it ends in the spiritual form of the personality, the end game, the 12th frame, the 12th house. The chart crosses around towards the other areas of the chart that cover components in our lives, such as family and career, death, spiritual, etc. Essentially, the chart reveals many truths about ourselves. As above, so below. Our own stars in the sky is where we truly live. The experience of life is merely an illusory representation of images created in our own minds. I was truly amazed at the accuracy of my own birth chart. Did Nostradamus tell the truth? Am I the one to gain the 7 as worded by Nostradamus? Am I the one who will guide humanity to great spiritual end? Am I the protector of the sheep, as God would put it? The writings we see in our lives were created with a type of automation. The environment, the texture, it was created in advance. Each movement known by God at its conception. So perhaps God perceived of me in 1972, a leap year. I'm born on the 222nd day in God's mind, perhaps, of 1972, 2 years before my own birth, 1974. I'm sure a 2-year process to perfect this is reasonable, for I wasn't truly born into existence as we know until 1974, a normal year in which I was born on the 221st day. My philosophy holds that if everything below is as it is above, we can find some clue as to what God's purpose for us is, just simply merely by looking at our birth charts, because our birth charts have the layouts of the stars. And folded, we have an entire history of the layouts of the stars and the planets in our book charts, so we can essentially look at the future. With stars, we can look at the past, we can look at the present, and we can understand how our lives are written in the stars. In my own experience, not only did this give me great insight, but it also gave me a stepping stone towards finding my next step in my path towards enlightenment. That is, in so many words, essentially the fact that I was able to fast and meditate on this information. Once a faster, then meditating inspired my writings of the stars, the writings that God created when He created me. When I look at the ratings in the stars, the writings in the stars, I can see a very accurate view of what God has in mind for me. The view of the stars that I see in my birth chart even tells me the woman of my dreams, and it gives me a clue as to who it is. Pairing together readings and knowledge of integrity, learnings from other mistakes like Nostradamus, I can piece together the clues of what my futures will be like for God. And my views come here to this earth, and He actually comes in different forms and tests us inside of our lives. God can appear in any form, so He can even jump down into our perception, which in my eyes would be hard, since God has His own perception. Reception, I'm sure, but His angels and archangels, I'm sure, have an archetype perception of their own world, and their world is different compared to ours. So in essence, jumping down into our perception, I'm sure, is a difficult task. So I'm sure guards and those above us who see different parameters of our lives, different accomplishments. But I'm sure, as other writings have said, God can go through all of the accomplishments just like it's a projector screen or a slideshow or something. If there is a layout that I think everything works in a simple picture, I would draw out God being this central sun or idea. Then inside of our own outer darkness, we, the children of God, shine our own lights in our own darkness. And once we obtain the light, we remove the darkness. We join God as a whole, and we can jump into the collective consciousness and the all of the consciousness, the above. We basically destroy the darkness in our life, and we join the light. When we join the light, we leave behind our earthly ways of pleasure, our lust, treachery, ignorance, hate, malice, deception. But we must follow God's plan. We must follow God's way. We must live up righteously and justly. We must follow the commandments of God. We must follow the rule of 12, 10, And the 12 tormentors will act as roadblocks against our spiritual progressions. 10 are the powers of God's mercy, and we will be blessed with this once we obtain enlightenment. You see, I'll tell you a little secret of the book of Revelations. It's really a love story written for the saints. We might interpret this in our own way because each of us has our own way, our own eye of the way we behold things. Therefore, we have our own world, and our world is a part of a larger world. So essentially, it is a world inside a world. Essentially, the powers that be on this earth are either evil or good at the various degrees. Some are less good, some are less bad, more good, some are less evil, some are more evil. Each has its own assignment, its own way, its own path that God has already written in the God copy. After the final steps of enlightenment are met, the world transforms. It transforms into a theory of passion. All has realized the realization of the grade of enlightenment, the grand enlightenment. The more of us that reach the score, the better we can help each other to obtain total enlightenment, spiritual perfection. We can work to destroy the evil tormentors of this world. The tormentors are chained in buying, and however, they still have control over our minds. And once the hell on this earth is destroyed, these evil demons and tormentors are casted back into the fury pits of hell. 38 is the number of my birth date, 8/9/1974. The book of Job, chapter 38, was mentioned in the Da Vinci Code book as being the secret held by the higher members of Christianity. Those who know about the true creation, those who know about the rose line that leads to the most recent one who inherits the kingdom of Christ, the chosen one, the one the prophecy speaks of and referred to as the one who will end the world as we know it. The Christogram on my birth chart is another strange factor. The Christogram is merely an X with a sword through it. It is an ancient symbol, a symbol of perfection. It is a symbol of Christ's great leadership over all Christians. Christ is a priest, the great priest and the high priest. He is God's son. In the line, in this rose line, there is a hereditary line, and Christ is the beginning of it. Christ actually, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, had, I believe, 2 daughters, and he also had someone that they worded as a significant other or some type of that, or actually an associate or something like that. It wasn't even worded as though he had a girlfriend, but really Jesus was with Mary Magdalene, according to the Dead Sea Scrolls. In that case, there is a rose line. Someone is a descendant of Christ in physical form, probably in this world as we know it. So anyways, Christ is the priest, the great priest, the high priest. He is God's son. The rose line, he's hereditary to him, has been passed down. Many don't know, but Christ had an intimate partner, and it was Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene and Christ, in one version of the story, had 2 daughters, and there is a bloodline. It has been passed down from generation to generation. Even William Shakespeare, in his statue, marked the symbol as an X with a sword through it, because he had his legs crossed, just like this Christogram. You know, it was shaped like an X with a sword through it. The Christogram, the great ancient symbol that marks invincibility. Only he who has perfect eyes, he who has the 7 stars and the 7 spirits, he who has the perfect authority and the perfect vision, only he is the one who will be able to awaken and guide us out of this hell on earth that we face. Only the chosen one can lead us away from doom and defeat. The chosen one will save us, although the matter of our own death seems scary at first. Really, our deaths are beginning of life. Once we escape this darkness, we will no longer face the struggles that we face now. Our bodies will be freed, and our souls in the throne that they are will be free once more, free to roam the light in the light, free to journey from the ends of the earth to the ends of the universe. In our meditation, once we create a circle of protection and complete the different meditation rituals of thought, mentioned in the Emerald Tablets, in this process, we can remove the darkness. We can join the light. We can become one with the Maker, one with the All. Our visions now are completely relative compared to God's vision. We will never be able to fathom God's mind or God's vision, for our vision is limited to what we see. And God's is the absolute view. God sees through the eyes of our partner, of our mother, of our father. Everyone, God is all. God's spirit roams through all of us. We are all connected to God, God's spirit. Only some of us have the power to move God's mind. Only some of us have the power to control our own destiny inside of this world. There is one witness. This newly formed perception that we have created in our minds. Even the Sphinx in Egypt mentions the lion with the man's head on it. I'm thinking this is more of an initiation. But for when God created this world, we could have been jumped into this world of perception that we see, with the great seven wonders of the world being nearly decrepitated. It could all be in the programming. But at any rate, the environment was already built when we were born, so our perception just simply walks us through this modular world. In essence, God wanted us to see the Sphinx in our world because it is an indicator of this beginning of the end. It tells that a man that is a lion will initiate the final steps of enlightenment. The final steps of a man takes before he goes to heaven. I was born on August 9th, 1974, so I am the lion. And it is strange, but when I was doing my meditation in the winter of 2019 to 2020, I was reading all of my meditation experiences in this little black book, which reminds me of the little black book that was mentioned in the book of Revelations 10:1. If the irony is not already very high in your mind, then you are thinking of the story of the fixed stars that are in the constellations of Leo, 9, 10, and 11, all ones excluding the 9, all ones. This brings me to the next phase of my story. I had one of my customers bring me give me this car when I was running the moving company, A1 Moving. There was a customer named Derek and his wife Diane had us move them from one house to another, and it was from Ypsilanti to Belleville, Michigan. But I find that